I'm Donald Hilton. I'm a neurosurgeon, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about pornography and pornography addiction and how that affects the brain. Now, first of all, let's talk about how the brain functions. Let's pretend the brain is a car. Where's the brake? The brake is right here, behind, just over the eyes. We call that the frontal lobe. So it's the part of the brain that says, don't do it, think about it, if you do it, there's going to be consequences. When that part of the brain is hurt, either from an aneurysm or a car wreck or anything that damages this frontal lobe, this brake of the brain, then the person loses or is damaged in their ability to stop, to say, maybe I better not do that. If I do, there will be consequences. So let's talk about addiction and how that relates then to the frontal lobe. In a car, when we see a danger as we're driving, we use those brakes, and those brakes allow us to stop. Let's say we're walking on the side of the road and we see an ice cream stand on the other side, and we say, it's hot, I really want some ice cream. Before we cross the road, though, we see a big cement truck coming, and our frontal lobe, among other parts of our brain, says, think about that. You can eat the ice cream, but it probably would be better to wait till the truck goes by before you cross the street. In addiction, we don't wait to go get the ice cream. We walk right in front of the cement truck. So what can we become addicted to? Well, we know that certain things are addictive. You probably won't have any trouble believing that cocaine and methamphetamine and other drugs are addictive, which means as we take them, our brain becomes dependent on them to the point where we can't quit. We lose our ability to stop. You would probably not be surprised to know that this frontal lobe actually changes size and its ability to function with addiction. A couple of scientific studies have shown that with both cocaine and methamphetamine addiction, this frontal lobe, this brake of the brain, actually shrinks. It gets smaller with the addiction, in the sense that the frontal lobes actually do get smaller when the person becomes addicted. So they become smaller and less able to function properly. In other words, the person doesn't say stop as well. Even though there may be dangers with an activity or behavior, they don't see it and they don't stop. So even though cocaine and methamphetamine use is damaging, destroying their lives, they don't stop. Well, is pornography or sexual addiction, can that be a real addiction like cocaine and methamphetamine? The answer, science is telling us, is yes, it can. Can it change the brain in similar ways? Can it cause these frontal lobe areas, this brake of the brain, to actually get smaller? Actually, it can. A couple of recent studies have shown this. One looked at overeating leading to obesity and found that the frontal areas of the brain shrunk just like they did with cocaine and methamphetamine. And then, I believe it was 2007, recently, a study looking at a form of sexual addiction showed the same thing, that those frontal lobes actually got smaller in addiction, in sexual addiction. Think about that for a minute. We have 4 different studies, 2 drug studies, cocaine and methamphetamine, and 2 natural addiction studies, overeating leading to obesity, and sexual addiction. These are 4 different studies done in 4 different scientific institutions and published in 4 different scientific journals, all showing the same thing, that this frontal area, this brake of the brain, actually shrinks or gets smaller with addiction, whether to a chemical or a behavior. This is important because as a neurosurgeon we know that the brain is when the brain is damaged, again by trauma such as a car wreck or by a tumor, the person is not able to process or to stop. They become, and I'll use several words that I'll define, compulsive, which means they focus on something and they say, I have to have that one. Not that one, but that one. That's called compulsivity. Second, impulsivity. Impulsivity means they pick something out almost arbitrarily and have to have it. And then they change immediately. I have to have that one. And they just change their mind quickly, and they're very impulsive about their decisions without really weighing it. Which brings us to the third thing that addiction or frontal lobe damage does, and that is impaired judgment. They don't weigh it out. They can't see the consequences. They don't see down the street. They don't see around the corner with what's going to happen later. And of course, the fourth thing is emotional ability. They get happy, sad, angry, and change their emotions quickly. So we know now that pornography addiction is a powerful natural addiction, as are other sexual addictions, and that these natural addictions can change the brain in very powerful ways. Another way it changes the brain, in addition to these frontal lobe changes we talked about, is the dopamine system. Now, dopamine is a brain chemical, and dopamine causes us to desire or to value pleasure. It's important we have dopamine or we wouldn't even want to eat. It tells us, it rewards us for participating in behaviors that help us survive, like eating and like procreation. That's why sexuality is pleasant. Unfortunately, when a person overuses the behavior that produces the dopamine, then that becomes the main event instead of the garnish. And addiction ensues and happens. The internet has made pornography the crack cocaine of addictions, of visual addictions. What to do? Is it harmful? Absolutely, it's harmful. Some will say, well, it's only bad because of, say, religious or values or beliefs. That's not true. Social science research shows that pornography clearly harms a person no matter what their religious perspective or non-perspective is. It harms relationships. It harms the ability to form emotion, to think, to feel. Because of the nature of this problem, if we don't seek help, if we have this problem, it will not go away. It won't leave. It will fester. It will increase. Like a fish that has swallowed a hook, it will only bury itself deeper the more the fish thrashes and tries to get rid of the hook. Without help and healing and support from outside sources, there's no way to extract that hook. And remember, seek help, reach out. There is hope and there is healing with support, but not alone. Thank you.